All right, guys, the Utah Jazz just made a signing. It's Ersan Ilyasova. Is this all they're going to do? Does this make a difference? Let's find out. This is the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, the Utah Jazz did something. A lot of us have been wondering if they were going to do something. There had been lots of things online and Twitter talking about how the Jazz were looking at making some sort of buyout pickup, and I actually think this is a pretty solid one for the Utah Jazz. To be honest, Ersan Ilyasova is one of those players that's been around for a long time. We all know him from playing for the Milwaukee Bucks for multiple years and kind of moving around. He played for the Sixers, if you remember. He's a solid player, and the real question is he washed? Can he still contribute? Honestly, I was a little surprised he wasn't already on a squad. You know, he's one of those guys that you just kind of you're familiar with Ersan Ilyasova just being on someone's team typically. So him being on the Jazz is it's interesting. The question is, how old is he? Ersan Ilyasova is 32, 33 years old. Looking at Basketball Reference, he is clocking in at, let's see, age 33 and 29. So he's 33, 34 years old. This is probably one of his last opportunities to really do something in the NBA. But he is a solid shooter. If you go to Basketball Reference, you can look at the last 3 years. He is a solid 36%, 36%, 36%. When you see that consistent number, that's a good sign that this guy can shoot the ball. And what I was kind of wondering is, because one of the things the Jazz have needed is they've needed kind of a defensive upgrade at the power forward position. And if you look at Ersan Ilyasova, I wasn't able to pull up some of these advanced things. His advanced stats are really solid on defense. Is he going to be a defensive stopper for the Jazz? No, probably not. Is he going to could it be that he's kind of past the ability to really defend at a high level? Yeah, probably. But what you're looking at with his Ilyasova is someone that can come in. He's played at a high level in big games for the Sixers, for the Bucks. He hits at a nice rate at three. It's not like a blow your doors off percentage from three, but he can hit threes at a high level, and he can defend at a good enough level as a backup power forward that the Jazz are going to have an option here. And he may just be depth for the Utah Jazz. This may just be a matter of having a guy on the team that can just come in when a certain player is not playing well or injured. You know, is this an upgrade on Georges Niang? Probably not. It's probably a lateral move with Georges Niang, you know, because Niang hits threes at a pretty high level. But this guy can come in and defend. And in a pinch, let's say Bogey is out, you need someone who can come and defend. Maybe you don't trust Georges Niang that night or something like that. You can bring Ilyasova in and know that he's not going to be scared to do what needs to be done in a playoff game. Now, is he changing things for the Utah Jazz for this offseason or this playoffs? No, he's not. He's 33 years old, going to be 34 pretty soon here. And he's a decent, stretch four option for the Jazz, which is something that they've honestly need. If you look at this Jazz team, they just don't really have any pure power forwards. You could argue that the only pure power forward they really have is Georges Niang, because Royce O'Neal's not really a pure power forward. Bojan Bogdanovic is not really a pure power forward. He plays in that slot a lot, but I would argue he's not in a lot of ways strong enough or fast enough with who he's asked to guard. Bojan is kind of an interesting player because he's kind of malleable at this point, but he's just not a very good defender. And so, Ersan is someone you could bring in who could play a little bit better defense and that can shoot the ball. So it's really nice. DW, Jazz going all the way. Yes, sir, DW. Thank you. 199. Thank you, DW. I appreciate it very much. Looks like, let's see, Kenny said, looked like he's really capable of taking offensive charges, good defender. He is actually a better defender than both Georges Niang and Bojan Bogdanovic. That's the exciting thing about this. This guy can come in for defensive lineups. You can bring him in at a power forward position and still have a stretch big on the floor. So that's really nice. It's a nice tool in the toolbox for Quinn Snyder to use. Let's see, Kenny, feel like he's good bang for your buck. Absolutely. For $1 million, you can get a 36% three-point shooter at the power forward position who can defend better than Bogey and Yang. Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. He might get a lot of minutes off the bench, honestly. Always a big bag. $5. Thank you, sir. Great signing. Let's go. He may take George's minutes, though. Only Jazz fan in Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn, baby. One of these days I'll have to go to Brooklyn. It sounds like a really great place. I just hope the basketball team there doesn't beat our basketball team, right? Right? My goodness. But it's a really nice signing, Big Bag. It's a nice signing a lot. And if it replaces Georges Niang's minutes, It's not that big a deal. He's shooting 36% from three. You're not missing out on a huge percentage of threes. Niang has had a nice year, though. Georges Niang has really upped his defensive level this year. You can see an uptick in all the numbers, but it's still not blow your doors off. He's not stopping anyone big time. So it's really nice to see them go out and pick up someone like Ersan Ilyasova, who can be a nice piece to fit in. Who knows? He might be that guy that just hits a big shot in the playoffs that you need when a defensive lineup's on the floor. That's the nice thing about this pickup, and one of the things we can see that the Jazz are doing is they are making plays, or they're making pickups for players that fit in with what they do. This guy will move the ball. If you look at his stats, it's actually really impressive stuff, guys. Assists per game. Well, 1.7, 1.1, 1.3, and that's minutes played. That's about 25 minutes. So this guy is a shooter. That might be one of those things that'll take time for him to adjust. Who knows? I just know Ilyasova as a stretch big. That's really my extent of my knowledge of Ilyasova. He seemed to play really well on those Sixers teams. And so it'll be interesting to see how he does on this Jazz team where so many open threes are created. And if he can kind of move that ball within the offense, that's all you need to do. He doesn't need to be a creator. And that's why sometimes I actually wouldn't mind seeing him get some minutes and give Bogey a little bit of rest. Like, sometimes I wonder why Quinn Snyder has Bogdanovic doing so many isolation things and initiating so many, like, pick and rolls and things like that. Like, it's okay. But honestly, sometimes I just want Bogey to shoot the ball. I want, like, some guys I want creating plays for other people. And there's some guys that are just, these are the end of the play guys. Like, when this goes to Ersan, he just shoots a corner three. And one thing that'll be interesting with this as well, speaking of the Jazz offense, is how quickly can he get acclimated. The hard thing for the Jazz is they have a really good coach in Quinn Snyder, but it comes with a lot of complicated plays and systems that you've just got to get used to and figure out. And there's a lot of chemistry with the Jazz too, that you're going to hope that this guy can fit in, and figure out how to play within that chemistry and play well with the Jazz offense. Because it's a good offense. It's a relatively simple offense, but there's a lot of things going on that you've got to understand. So simple in its complexity is what we should say. Kenny, is it normal to have teams have different closing lineups to their starters? Yeah, the Jazz have done it in the past. You remember when the Jazz 3 years ago, they used to start with Derek Favors and they'd end with Jay Crowder at the power forward? That happened all the time. That's very... why would that be abnormal, honestly? Like, why wouldn't you want to just... Honestly, that's one of the things I would love to see more from Quinn, is just a little bit more malleability with lineups. It feels like our lineups are just so rote. They're so set. Like, this is what happens at this minute mark. This is who comes out. And really the only thing that seems to change our lineups is foul trouble, and Quinn pulls someone immediately with 2 fouls. I would love to just see, hey, this is a closing lineup against this type of team. We want a better defensive team, but we want some stretch shooting on the floor. So guess what? We're going to put in Ersan Ilyasova at the 4 because we still want shooting. Or let's say we're just going hardcore defense, full on, like, just pound the ball until the clock runs out. Let's put Derek Favors on the floor with Rudy Gobert. Or we're behind, we need to shoot the ball, all shooters on the floor. And that's typically our starting lineup, which, is really, really good, actually. Our starting lineup is really, really good. The one thing that's the question mark for the Jazz is that defense of Bogdanovic at this point. That is like the weak link that teams are attacking. And in a 7-game series, teams are going to attack that. So this is something to give a counter for Quinn Snyder. The question is, does he actually use it? Can Ilyasova stop Jimmy Buckets better than Bogey? Yes. Although, can he stop Jimmy Buckets? No, probably not. That's the thing. I don't know if this really moves the needle for the Jazz all that much. Donald Shuley, good insurance if Niang or Bogey gets hurt. That is exactly it. If Bogey gets hurt, you've got someone in Ilyasova who can back up, whether they start with Niang or with Ilyasova. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Bogey got hurt, if Ilyasova stepped in and became the starting power forward, just because of that defense. I love the emojis, by the way, guys. Very nice look. Brooklyn have fun with their acquisition of Blake Griffin, who I loathe. I don't think Blake Griffin's doing a lot for that team. We'll see. Maybe he's been hiding. But if you've been watching Detroit and watching Blake, it's a lot of just like 3-pointers that he shoots that he's not very good at. Let's see. Always a big bag. Makes me think a trade may be in the works. Only Jazz fan in Brooklyn. I love it. Actually, this is what I wanted to talk about next. Is this it for the Jazz, because I do believe that the Jazz roster has one more opening. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe there's an opening. And we talked about this last video. Who is the name out there of someone who might be getting bought out soon? Otto Porter. And I can tell you right now, the Jazz have interest in that guy. I don't have a source or anything like that. I have heard things in the past, though. A few birdies told me in DMs that there was some interest there. And the Jazz were really focused on getting him. And had Hayward not waited, Otto Porter would have been on the Jazz. And he'd have been a Jazz man this whole time. I think the Jazz are going to go hard after Otto Porter. Otto Porter is like the perfect pickup for the Jazz. But that comes through a buyout. That is completely dependent on the Chicago Bulls buying him out. And a lot of teams, they don't want to do a buyout. They want to see if they can get a pick as much as they can. But when you've got someone like Otto Porter, it's hard to make a trade. We talked about this last time. $28 million contract. And in the NBA, we know that you have to make trades. You have to have salaries that match that amount. And there's just not any team out there that has a $30 million trade exception to be able to absorb Otto Porter. Like, if the Jazz had a $30 million trade exception, Otto Porter would be on the Jazz this second. Like, I can assure you that. But we don't have that. The Jazz have like a $3 million trade exception, but you can't combine a trade exception with a player's salary. It's not allowed. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments, but that's what I've read in the CBA. So the Jazz just have to they can't, who are you? You can't trade Mike Conley at this point. I know we talked about it last season, but Mike Conley has been this year's most improved player, in my opinion. Really this season, the NBA needs to institute Lame Upload. Join the channel. Welcome to Rookie. Lame Upload. I appreciate it. That's amazing. Welcome to the Hoopsner channel. But anyways, you just aren't trading Mike Conley for Otto Porter at this point. Mike Conley, if they were going to bring back the award that I was going to say that they need to create is Comeback Player of the Year. They need that award. It would be a fun award to give out. And Mike Conley deserves that award. If it existed, it would go to Mike Conley. No one expected this stuff. And I actually thought about Otto Porter for Mike Conley because the contracts work. That's how much I love Otto Porter, guys. Otto Porter is really freaking good. Do you remember the season with Joe Ingles when he was shooting like 45% from three he was going for like the best 3-point percentage in the league? Who was the guy he was competing with to get that best 3-point percentage? Otto Porter. This season, in a somewhat down, weird year for the Chicago Bulls, where he's coming off the bench a lot of the time, he's shooting 40% from three, and he is a solid defender. He is a good enough rebounder. His metrics are really solid. So if you can get Otto Porter and Ersan Ilyasova, oh my goodness, then you might think about making a trade. If you've got that type of depth with Ilyasova, Porter, and who's the other one? Georges Niang. You've got really nice depth at the power forward position. It's not as much firepower as Bojan, absolutely. Bojan is arguably one of the best shooters in the NBA, easily one of the best. But you've got a great shooter in Otto Porter. The only question is the health. DW, my man, thank you so much. $4.99. Gonna buy you a Royals cap so you can give that nasty Yanks hat a rest. Woo! Hey, if you buy me a Royals hat, I'll wear it. Jokes aside, who's winning the World Series? Jazz going all the way. I think the Yankees are going to win the World Series. I don't know anything about baseball that much. I follow them a little bit. Go Yankees. 27 rings, baby. Yes. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see. I'm unsubsidized next time the Yankees had unsubscribed, I'm guessing what you're saying. Hey, we can all love the Yankees, guys. The Yankees are there for everyone to love. They're for all of you to love the Yankees. Is it really a World Series if the Yankees aren't in it? Is it really a title if it doesn't have the Yankees name next to it? I'm just kidding. I like the Yankees because my grandpa does. But anyways, you buy me a Royals hat, I'll wear it. Anyways, so if you have that type of depth at the power forward position, that gives you some options. The guy that I think the Jazz should think about, and maybe they might do it if you're willing to give a pick, Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes is having a nice year. 27 rings, Hey, I'm just talking history here. So let's look up Harrison Barnes. He is a trade target that I think the Jazz should be looking at really hard. And, you listen to all the different national podcasts. He's a name that's just being thrown about, which means that there are feelers going out there. This season, 2021, he's 16.7 points, 6.1 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 49% from the field, and 39% from three. That guy is a really nice player, and he can drive to the hoop. He can get his own shot. He's very much like Bojan, but he's younger than Bojan. Harrison Barnes, you'd think he's old. He's 28 years old. 28 years old. When you look at Bojan Bogdanovic, let's see. Bojan Bogdanovic, age 31. He's 325, so he's going to be 32 this season. That's a 4-year difference. You know, and if you can get that guy and you can get that type of production for longer, you've got dynasty chances. Like, what if the Jazz go all the way this year? What if the Jazz go all the way and then Bojan Bogdanovic falls off a cliff? You know, maybe you can find a way to fit in someone like Harrison Barnes, who is really nice, going to be a much better defender than Bojan Bogdanovic, and you're not losing any of the offense. If anything, you could argue it's just as good, if not better in some ways. I'm going to look at his advanced stuff real quick. Advanced stats for Harrison Barnes. Not that great. But that could be the Sacramento Kings. Just looking at Bojan really quick. And Bojan is going to get a benefit from playing Rudy Gobert. Let's see. This is great YouTube live stuff for you guys. Defensive blocks plus minus, not great for Bojan either. And that's with playing with Rudy Gobert. So I would say that getting Harrison Barnes is something the Jazz should think about. And guess what? You all, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this enough. I was not a big fan of the Jazz draft this year. I really like Elijah Hughes. I think I like Azubuike. He's not going to play for the Jazz anytime soon. When is Azubuike going to be on the floor for the Utah Jazz? Like, Derek Favors has a 3-year contract for Utah. He is the backup center for the Jazz. The Jazz play Derek Favors as much as they can as backup center. And, you know, like the other backup that the Jazz have that they will play is Juwan Morgan. When is Azubuike ever going to be on the floor? I don't know. Next 3 years from now, maybe? And he had a severe injury this year too, by the way. That pick never made sense to me. And so for me, I'm just like, if that's the type of pick we're making at the end of the first round, it's just Azubuike, a third-string center pick with our first-round pick. Why are we using our first-round picks? Let's trade it and get a player like Harrison Barnes. And if you're willing to trade Bojan Bogdanovic for Harrison Barnes and give them a pick that we're just going to waste this year anyway, then great. You've got a really nice player that fits in for the next 3-4 years. I don't know what Harrison Barnes' contract is. Let's check it out really quick, just for curious. Harrison Barnes, you know what? I don't have it on here, so I'm not going to look it up. But what I do know is that, let's see. Well, let's just look it up together, guys. Harrison Barnes signed a 4-year, $85 million contract with the Kings. He is in the second year of it. So you get Harrison Barnes, which is pretty much the same. That's the same contract level as Bojan Bogdanovic. He actually is a little bit more expensive. But if you can trade for Harrison Barnes, you lock him in, you re-sign Mike Conley. That starting lineup of Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Harrison Barnes, Rudy Gobert, that's your lineup for like 3 years. The continuity of that is incredible. And you've got veterans mixed with guys in their prime. You've got prime Harrison Barnes. You've got Mike Conley, who can play off of Donovan Mitchell and play off of Royce O'Neal and play off of these guys, so he's not like the main focal point of the defense. That's really nice. Harrison Barnes would be a really nice pickup. Let's see. He's good to have in the dugout in case we have a freak injury. Yes, Ilyasova is definitely like that. Let's see. You're going to do a play-by-play, right? Well, I'm not sure what you're actually talking about, Lame Upload. Let me know in the comments what you actually mean. Jorge Arizaga, in Mexico, you might lose your job if you like the Yankees. What? I don't know. I don't work in Mexico, I guess, so I'm glad I wouldn't lose my job there. Oh, and then also Joe Ingles. And we'll see what happens with Joe Ingles. I don't know what he's going to, that's another video for another day for him, what Joe Ingles is going to do next year and stuff. I don't remember what his contract is. Joe Ingles, by the way, is having one of his best seasons of his career quietly. I think it's actually one of those things people need to be talking about a little more. This guy is playing. He's in the final year of his contract, Joe Ingles. I don't know what's going to happen with Joe. I'm guessing he signs like a 1 year next year if he still wants to play. But Joe Ingles is 32 years old. Joe Ingles is having a great year this year and in the final year of his contract. My guess is that he would like to play and maybe play with the Jazz one more year. He's got so much roots here. Lame Upload, live play-by-play. That would be kind of fun. I don't know how many people would love that, but maybe we'll try it one of these days. At least watch the game together, talk about it together. That might be really fun. If you guys is that something you guys would like, actually? Is that something you guys would like to do, is have a live stream while we watch the game? I don't know, actually, if that's possible for me because I have... the way my setup is, and I think I'll do a video about this, what my setup is, I don't have access to watch the game live. I guess I could watch it on the computer somehow. Maybe. We'll figure that out. That's something that we might try, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, I don't know. But these live streams have been really fun, and I didn't know if that would be something that went really well. So maybe that's something that would be really fun. If you guys are interested in that, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Halftime show. You know what's funny? Always a big bag. I did a halftime show. That's how this whole thing started. It all started with a halftime show on Facebook for SLC Dunk. And I also realized that you just didn't get as many viewers because guess what? The only people interested in the halftime show are the people who are very committed to the channel and who are watching the game and log in at halftime, because guess what, after halftime it kind of becomes irrelevant because the game ends and then you need to do a post-game show. So it's better to just do a post-game show. That's why no halftime show. But we could do maybe like a watch the game together thing. That would be fun. I would not mind doing that. That might be really fun. It might be a little lame, but if you guys really like it and I have fun doing it, why not? A lot of it might be me getting just pissed off. I spend a lot of time mad at the games, Let's see. Jorge Arizaga, congrats on your blog and SLC. I liked it. Great job. Thank you. That is part of Vox Media. If you guys did not know, I am the site manager as well of SLC Dunk. So you guys should go check that out. There's a lot of great writers down on that blog that we've picked up, and that is a site you should be reading every day. Great stuff on SLC Dunk, by the way. Guys, I guess that's all I got to say. I'm excited about this pickup. I hope all of you are crossing your fingers that the Jazz pick up Otto Porter, because I actually feel like that's somewhat of a possibility if the Bulls buy him out. Let's hope they buy him out. Oh, please, Chicago, buy him out. And then the Jazz might be able to sign him, because guess what? The Jazz have a biannual exception worth like $3.5 million. They might be able to overpay him, pay him more than anyone else, and then maybe sign him to a long-term thing. Who knows? I really like Otto Porter. He's fantastic. All right, as always, we're going to end the night thanking all our All-Stars who make this all possible. Lee Christensen, Shan Therick, Ryan Perry, Justin Ty H, Patrick Akubo, Robert Hall, Kyle Christensen, DW Jazz going all the way, David Lee, and Jorge Arizaga, mi amigo. Guys, this has been really fun. I'm glad the Jazz did something. I feel like that meme where the guy's poking the horse and saying, please do something. And the Jazz did something. We get to see a new player come on the Jazz, and we'll see if he shakes things up a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of competition. Bogey needs to step up on the defensive end. He really does, because the Jazz need it if they want to win the title. And I think the Jazz can absolutely win the title this year, but they're going to need to make a move, and they might need to get Otto Porter or maybe look at trading for Harrison Barnes. That would be a fantastic pickup. Guys, that's all I got to say. Like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you join the channel. The button's right down there, I think. Make sure you like and subscribe. I will talk to you next time.